Good morning again. This is part 3 of my 3-part series on the astrology of the 2020s for America and the world. And in this part, we're going to cover the years from 2026 through 2029. And this is where we get into the good stuff. Just as the first part of this decade was really bad, the last part of this decade has the potential to be the beginning of something extraordinary. So let me share my screen. And I need to make just a few adjustments here. So 2026 through 2029. Now, the good news is that if the first part of the 2020s has been the worst time of the century, the second half of the decade will likely be the beginning of the best time. First, though, let's look at a little history since we're still playing out some of the major cycles of the 1960s. Okay, let's go back to 1965. On October 9th, 1965, Uranus revolution and Pluto rebellion made the first of 3 conjunctions that would take place in Virgo over the next couple of years. And these conjunctions also activated the Neptune-Mars square in July 1776 charts. In the latter half of this decade, we will see a more benevolent trine between these 2 planets. But back in the 60s, this was what was behind all the social revolution that took place. The conjunction of Uranus and Pluto shook the world. And on April 12th, 1966, there was a conjunction of Saturn and Chiron in Pisces. This coincided with the rise of interest in Eastern spirituality and meditation. This cycle will end in 2028 with a new conjunction in Taurus that may focus instead on joy and the simple pleasures of life. Now, 1967 was known for the Summer of Love, and it was initiated by a grand trine involving Jupiter, Neptune, Saturn, and Chiron. And you can see here on February 6th of 1967, there was this incredible grand trine in water signs. Okay. Now, some of the things we saw emerge from this grand trine were flower children, meditation, marijuana, psychedelics. Remember ISKCON, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, the Hare Krishnas, and also environmentalism. Now, since Neptune was in Scorpio, our motto back then was, if it feels good, do it. Since Jupiter was in Cancer, we saw communes and new kinds of families coming into being, friends coming together to form their own families. Chiron in Pisces brought about some deep spirituality, but also Saturn in Pisces. Well, Saturn likes to regulate things, but in Pisces, those regulations are weakened. So, all the barriers were thrown aside, tossed aside. It's just a matter of, if it feels good, let's go ahead and do it. Now, I call 2013 the summer of non-binary love and cannabis. And at this point, we experienced a similar astrological configuration, a grand trine in water signs involving the same planets. And we saw a lot of history repeat itself. Some of the things that happened that year were SCOTUS ruled the Defense of Marriage Act unconstitutional, and now same-sex marriages became legal. Also, Pew polls showed majority support for same-sex marriage and cannabis. There were a few differences, however, between 2013 and the corresponding grand trine back in the 60s. The main thing is, instead of Neptune being over here in Scorpio, anything goes, if it feels good, do it. We have Neptune in Pisces. Instead of Saturn having itself weakened restrictions, behavior, regulations being weakened in Pisces. Saturn is here in Scorpio, and that made a big difference. With Neptune in Pisces, we were looking forward to high times. Jupiter in Cancer, we had an expanded definition of families. Uh, you could have uh, two fathers or two mothers now. Uh, Chiron in Pisces, one of the themes of this time was people wanted to be spiritual, not religious. But this is a big change. With Saturn in Scorpio, the motto this time around was legalization with appropriate regulation. Now, let's go back and look at something that began long, long ago, very far into the past, between the years 577 and 574 BCE. In this period, there were a series of conjunctions, seven and one near conjunction, between the outer planets Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. And the expectation from something like this is that this would release an influence that would lead humanity to transcendent heights. What was observed during this period were the beginnings and developments of several major religions and philosophies to an extent that has never been seen since. And this period of time coincides generally with the birth of Taoism, Confucianism, Buddhism, the golden age of Greek philosophy, the writing of the Torah during the Babylonian exile, and the composition of parts of the Upanishads in India. So this was an extraordinary thing that happened during this period of time. Tremendous changes here on good old planet Earth, and these changes were sure enough written in the stars. And from 2026 through 2032, actually, I should say 2025, it begins. We will see something similar astrologically as the planets Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto make a series of sextiles and trines to one another. And the children born during this time will be extraordinary. Also, the turbulent Uranus-Pluto conjunction of the 60s will now be replaced by the influence of a much calmer trine. And you can see we're going to have Uranus making exact trine to Pluto 5 times between 2026 and 2028. Neptune making an exact sextile to Pluto several times from 2026 through 2032. And Uranus making a sextile to Neptune 4 times from 2025 through 2027. And the best day of the entire century, though, might be July 21st, 2026, when almost all of the planets will be joined together in great harmony through a series of sextiles and trines. And just look at this. Pluto, 4 degrees Aquarius, Neptune, 4 degrees Aries, Uranus, 4 degrees Gemini, Jupiter, 4 degrees Leo, Moon, 0 degrees Scorpio, North Node, 0 degrees Pisces, Chiron, 0 degrees Taurus, South Node, 0 degrees Cancer. I'm sorry, Virgo. Incredible amount of harmony here. So whatever is born at this moment will likely unleash a harmony that will impact the world for decades to come, and maybe even longer. This is a time we should all be looking forward to. However, for the world, there will be a few bumps in the road from 2028 through 2030. Saturn conjunct Chiron and Taurus will complete the Saturn-Chiron cycle that began in Pisces in 1966. And it may initiate a spirituality based on the simple pleasures of life, such as the daily enjoyment of work, relationships, and the present moment that one finds mentioned in Ecclesiastes. Squares between Pluto and Aquarius in both Saturn and Chiron and Taurus, however, suggest that there may be some tension between the powers that be and whatever earth-centered joyous spirituality that may emerge as a result of this Saturn conjunction with Chiron. But we will just have to wait until we are closer to this time to see what might happen. We're a little too far away to really know what choices humanity is going to make. Okay, for America, though, the 2027-2028 return of Uranus to its natal position at 8+ degrees Gemini is of particular concern since past Uranus returns coincided with the American Civil War and our participation in World War II. Also, squares involving Chiron could bring on either more wounding or simply pressure to heal and transcend. And again, we will just have to wait and see what will be intensified when Pluto makes a conjunction with the South Node in the USA chart at 6+ degrees Aquarius. Okay, and that's going to happen here in 2028 and 2029. And also in 2028, 2029, we're going to have Chiron squaring the nodes. You can see there's a lot of stuff in this period, a lot of squares involving Chiron to things in these July 1776 charts for America. So, very good things ahead for the world. Maybe some more interesting things, more adjustments due for America. We'll see. Okay, nonetheless, a plethora of sextiles and trines involving transits by Uranus and Chiron to the USA chart could help usher in a new age of innovation and transcendence in America. The bottom line is just as the first half of this decade has been difficult, the second half will likely see the birth of many new and wonderful things, and I just can't wait. There are going to be a lot of new wonderful things coming along for both the world and for America too, in spite of whatever bumps in the road lie ahead. And that's it. The first 3 years of this decade were extraordinarily difficult. And the years 2023 through 2026 will likely be very challenging for both Russia and America. That's up to about February of 2026. However, the world is on the precipice of a new age of enlightenment that will complete some of the cycles that began long ago in the 60s. It all reminds me of the H.G. Wells novel, The Shape of Things to Come, where an age of war is followed by peace and renewal. We're living in an extraordinary time, so please endure, because the best is yet to come. And if you have Amazon Prime, you can watch this old movie, Things to Come, for free on it. It's a wonderful movie, wonderful story, has Raymond Massey in it, and a lot of wonderful Art Deco costumes and sets. So give it a try. It'll be fun. And that's all, folks. So let me stop sharing. And here I am again. So this is the end of my 3-part series on the astrology of the 2020s for America and the world. And I hope you enjoyed it. So until my next video, so long, and I'll stop recording now.